So last week we were talking about forgiveness and forgiveness being seeing the world differently. That forgiveness meant to take ourselves back to the state of mind that we were in before whatever offense it was that we thought happened to us happened. So to return to a state of mind in which we were holding no grievance. And of course what we said about that was that yes, it's great, and we can, if we're having an argument with someone, we can go back and remember how we were feeling before the argument started and put ourselves back in that state of mind, and that's helpful in relationships, much more helpful than staying in the resentment, but it doesn't actually take us back to the state of mind we were in before the grievance occurred, because the state of mind we were in before the grievance occurred was way, way, way back there. It was before this life, before many lives before this life. It was actually all the way back to the Garden of Eden story, the separation, it was back to the place, to go back into the state of mind we were in before the grievance occurred would be to go back to the state of mind of harmony, wholeness, oneness, actually non-duality. And so this is our ultimate goal, but of course we're not just going to do that in the blink of an eye. But to remember that the fact is that we are responsible for what we see. And we can make a decision when we see something that's unpleasant, when we see something that we would like to see something different, we can make a decision to see it differently. Because what has happened here is we have designed the world to show us all sorts of reasons to be afraid, all sorts of reasons to be angry. But the fact of the matter is we are responsible for what we see. We need to come to an understanding of how the world works, that the world is the way we are perceiving the world, generally speaking, is as a dangerous place. But we're totally responsible for what we see. Once we accept that idea, things start to work better. It doesn't matter if we don't like it. It doesn't matter if we disagree. It's just a matter of fact that and really everyone knows that they do have ultimately responsibility for how they perceive things. So we choose what feelings we feel. We decide upon what goal that we put our attention on. All the things that seem to happen are only those things which we have asked for. We argue with it all the time. We say, I didn't ask to have that car accident. I didn't ask to have that bad relationship. I didn't ask for to get fired from my job. I actually didn't ask to get promoted in my job. And I thought it was going to be good, but it's not good. I never asked for that promotion. In the first place, they shouldn't have given it to me. And ultimately, down to the bottom line, I say, I never asked to be born. Why do I have to put up with all of this pain? But we are actually getting what we asked for. We're getting what we asked for at a subconscious level, and many times we're getting what we asked for at a conscious level. This is a day now then we can decide to start asking for something different. We can decide to ask for what we really want, and what we really want, I think, is peace. What we really want is love. The problem is that we can't consciously make a decision in our ego. Yes, that's what I want is love, and then really love comes. What we have to do is show the suffering that's in us to the Holy Spirit and ask for healing. Ask for to be shown another way. So we release suffering and what we think of as sin, we release error, we give it to the Holy Spirit, and we can actually enter into instant happiness. And this would be the accomplishment of that one true goal in the day. From that place of happiness then, we can extend happiness to others. The problem is we have faith in the wrong thing. Fear is actually not lack of faith. Fear is having faith in fearful things. And faith is always in operation, it's always working, And it is the perceiving power. Faith is how really faith has everything to do with how we see the world. And if we put our faith in just the material world, if that's what we have our faith in, then it will deliver goods and services to us. And sometimes it will withhold goods and services to us. It will deliver temporary happiness, and then it will deliver temporary pain. But if we put our faith in spirit, that which we really are, then what gets delivered is spirit. What gets delivered is more love. So we already have all the faith, belief, and vision that are needed to enter into the kingdom of heaven. We have just covered it over. We have just hidden it. All we need to change is how we apply the gifts. Spirit guides us. Our inner teacher, we call it the observer. The observer is the decision maker that we choose between the ego and spirit. And we say, which teacher do we want? Spirit will guide us, but we have to ask. The way will be made clear for us. Perception will change as we endeavor throughout the day to have faith in ourselves, in our brother, in God. If you think about this idea, to have faith in your brother means that you actually trust him. To have faith in your neighbor, that you trust him. That you extend trust to him even though perhaps in the past, apparently there were reasons that you shouldn't extend your trust to them. But faith says that beneath all of that former activity, there is a Son of God. Now, to have trust in your brother doesn't mean that you give your brother your car keys. It could mean that if you're guided to do so, but this is not, having faith in your brother doesn't mean that you turn over your bank account to him. Having faith in your brother is to have faith that underneath all of the separating behaviors, that there is a light in them and in us. So having faith in our brother is actually having faith in ourselves. And ultimately it is having faith in God. The fact of the matter is that what I have faith in is the light in you. I have faith in the love in you. So, and consequently I have faith in the love in me. And I have faith in the light in me, which is the same way of saying that I have faith in God, who is light, who is love. So let's remember that all these things are really one. We're really one and the same. And faith is the medium which leads us to vision. So from this perspective, we go out in the world and we be observant. We want first we want to try to release the fear that we have of looking within. And again, this is a difficult thing to do, but if I say to myself, yes, I'm afraid. I am afraid to look inside. I don't know. It's painful. I'm worried. I might see something that I don't like. So I'm afraid to look inside, and let me take that fear and show it to Spirit and say, I'm afraid, heal my fear. I'm afraid, heal my fear. Sometimes we may think that if we look closely within ourselves, we will find some horror that we cannot bear. So it seems easier for us to look without. We look without and see all of our projected guilt and fear reflected back at us in the form of judgment. So we judge our brothers as being outside of grace and generally lacking in that which we believe that they should have. We judge harshly, seeing behavior which is anathema to us. We judge more positively sometimes, having some sort of compassion when we observe the suffering of others. But all of this is just a distraction from the truth. The truth which can only be found within. So we have to dive down below the surface of the appearances of life, past the veneer of civilization, past the animal responses of the ego, through all of the fears, and enter directly into the light that is our spirit. This is the core of goodness we'll find in ourselves. And then we will be able to see it in our brother. And this vision releases all of us from the chain of sin and sickness. It leads us back to some sort of sanity, so that we are able to choose reason rather than madness. When reason is actually dedicated to the restoration of sanity. Reason reconnects our will, the ability to make a decision, to goodwill, that which is good for everybody. True reason will not allow any thought of separation because it knows only connectedness. So reason just keeps coming back. You say, yes, I know that regardless of appearances, I am connected to God. I'm connected to God. And since I'm connected to God, I'm connected to all life. So I'm not going to say, when I see separation, I'm going to admit that I see separation and then give it up and see the connectedness that is really there. Reason allows us to remember that the world we see is a mirror. That the world we see is a mirror which reflects our choices back to us. Sometimes it seems that our mirror is broken into a million fragments, and then, insanely, these fragments have grown arms and legs to fight with one another. Reason is firm and unmoving, discarding this mad vision for the sanity of heaven, for the sanity of unity. When we take these issues, when we take the ugliness, the fear, the anger, the upset, when we take this and present it directly to Spirit and say, this is the situation I see, we're answered. Many times we have called out for answers to our troubles, hoping and wondering why that we have these daily challenges and sufferings, and we ask why. We can do this. We can use this time today to find the answer. Our only problem, the only issue that we have, is our own self-centeredness. The only issue that we have is our sense of separation from creation. The sole cause of all of our maladies, all of our pain, all of our suffering comes from this one issue. This sense of aloneness that is the lie that we have told ourselves. So, do you desire to rule your world or be ruled by it? And when I say rule your world, I don't mean rule over other people. I say rule your world, I mean rule the world that you see. Rule your perception, which is the actual the reality that's being presented to you. Would you rather rule that or be ruled by all these subconscious guilt things that just keep flipping and coming back around over and over again? Think about this idea that I am a child of God. You are a child of God. I am a child of God. I am son of God. And indeed, ruler of the world that I have made. Not the world that the other guy made. I am the ruler of the world that I made. I am responsible for the world that I made. I am the ruler of the world that I made. Not the world they're not creation. I'm talking about the world that I made. So I cannot possibly rule someone else. I can only rule my own mind. And so, if I realize that really in spirit, that I actually cannot sin, that I cannot, I make errors in the world that I made. I make errors in my ego thinking. But even those aren't sins. That actually I cannot, that which I really am does not sin. And all errors that were made have already been healed and corrected. So So I have no enemies because everyone is like me, whole and perfect, without conflict. So I don't really have any enemies, but I make enemies in my mind. I make enemies. So we're connected to all power. All power is ours. We cannot sin because we were made innocent. We cannot have enemies because everyone is the same. Everyone is whole and perfect. Well, all of these things are the answer to the question, but in order to accept these words and the true power which lies beyond them, we must see that which we have denied. First, we may even deny that we've seen trouble in the world, and we've got to get that out of the way. But then the next thing we have to realize is what we've really denied at this very deep level is the fact that we are one with God. That we are one with creation. Finally, and this is the bottom line. I am in God. You are in God. God is in us. In God, that's where we're at, in God. God is in us and we are in God. In God is only joy, only peace, only love, only life. This is, of course, one thing. These separate names are just descriptions of one thing. They're not different. Indeed, they're one. But our words really, my words, cannot convey the power of the idea. What I end up presenting here is dim. I can only dimly present this thing, and the full ramification of these ideas we just kind of miss it because we just keep getting caught in the ego. But an inner shift can happen. We can have this inner shift that can move us closer to the bridge of spirit, which stands ready to erase all of the imaginary distance between us and God. Reason and order is always in place. No matter how far we seem to have moved from them, they are there. They are there to comfort us when we choose again. Happiness is always available. Peace is constantly present. Love is forever extending. This is the inner reality. This is the truth of our being, which is to say, our very existence. So let's shift. Let's shift our focus from outer madness to inner reason and embrace the light that always shines within us. Thank you.